We were described as the worst England touring side in the history of any sport.
I've never played that drunk before.
Hello everybody, welcome along to this week's Le Petit Pod. This episode is brought to you as always by our very good friends at Continental Tires. It's a roundup of the week that was and a look ahead to the weekend that is. And we're going to start just with a couple of stories actually that have fallen out in the last, let's say, 24, 48 hours or so. The first one, Tins, welcome along to you, Mike rocking the mic, is this story that's coming out around the RFU and Prem Rugby looking at hybrid contracts, which will give England greater control of 20 core players. The professional game partnership announcement, I think, is due November, £128 million deal. A two-tier system, we're hearing, with larger EPS group retained. There was an extraordinary scenario, I think, in the Six Nations in which Steve Borthwick only had 25 players to play with, which meant that he couldn't run any match situations in training. 4-year deal worth $32 million, but this hybrid contract, about time.
If you look at all the countries around the world, then obviously a majority of them, bar France, are all working on a full-time sort of RFU or national contract, and then they get, they have contracts with their clubs to go and play, but it's all done for the good of the international game. Are we at a point where clearly the club game isn't the game that's succeeding, to put it mildly? So the international game we have to protect in some way. So if I look at it from that point of view, I'd say it's about time. What isn't working right now, our churn rate of players is way too high in terms of going through internationals. So let's put it in a positive way. It will find everything that we've said about the World Cup so far in terms of, I was listening to Geordie Murphy last night and he's saying, look, England just don't really know what their first team is. They don't, their burn rate of players, obviously the burn rate of coaches over the years has been high. And we don't really know who our best players are, what our best team is. So through something like this, you hopefully will then get the combinations that you want to go forward and have a bit more consistency within it. Okay. But is it just a start? Is it the start to then something bigger?
I think that's a very nice way to leave that point. There was one really interesting line that in one of the articles I read in which they said the little details that Borthwick is marrying up between club and country is really impressive, to the point that England now use the same data system, a tracking system, GPS system, as all the Premiership clubs. And for the last 15 years, they've had separate ones. I mean, it's an extraordinarily simple fix to make, but it now means that everyone's running on the same system, which means everyone can analyse everyone. And I think that is what this new professional game partnership will enable, is that even in small details like the marketing, Premiership will now market England and England will market the Premiership, and everyone is all in together. To be continued. We'll come back to that. There was one other desperately awful piece of news this week concerning Fiji, and I'm sure most people have heard it by now, but Joshua Tuisova's 7-year-old son Tito very sadly passed away after a prolonged battle with a debilitating illness. And if there was any more reason to love the Flying Fijians at this year's tournament, surely it's the fact that Tuisova has remained with the team and is set to stay with the team because because of the journey that they are on. I mean, extraordinary, and all you can do is send your very deepest sympathies. But
it's absolutely heartbreaking, and any parent who's got a child. I mean, I think it's been also people haven't got it, but it's, as you say, it's a long-term illness. So a lot of people on groups that I'm on are like, there's no chance I'd be staying. Family comes first and everything. But you don't know what deal he's done with his son.
Yeah.
You don't know the relationship between the father and his child in terms of his son might have said, "Go, I want you to win this," or I want you to stay. I want you to take Fiji as far. You just don't know the deal or the relationship that they had, and that's completely individual. And I think you've got to respect. What you do know is now how passionate the Fijians are going to come out in this game, and how much they'll get around him and play for him. And I don't think there's any doubt that Portugal might be feeling the wrath of this. But it's terribly sad. But I feel that there's the Pacific Islanders always have that very, very specific and close bond, and they're great with leaving a legacy for in someone's memory, and hopefully they can do Tito memory proud.
All good wishes to Joshua Tuasova with a heartbreaking story, but let's hope that everybody who is a fan of the Fijians gets right in behind them this weekend. We will watch that one with interest. We're going to come on to your predictions in just a moment. But first of all, we have a very special guest, a man who's pretty much won it all. We have spoken to him on the pod before, but it's a real treat to bring him in right in the middle of the World Cup. The trophy itself is firmly in his sights. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Englishman leading France's defence, Shaun Edwards.
How are you, first of all, Shaun? How is life? How has the World Cup been for you as a whole?
It's been quite positive, obviously, so far. I think when we've had our first team out, we've performed at a pretty high level. One match where we probably didn't perform to the level we want to, but all in all, it's all going okay at the moment. With a huge game against Italy, the thing is, nothing's changed really. The fact that even if we'd have lost against New Zealand, we still have to beat Italy. Simple. And it's a must-win game for us.
We'll come on to that in just a moment or two. But it feels a long time ago now, that opening night. But you have been around the world and been to some very big sporting occasions, both as a player and a coach. How special was that opening night, the opening ceremony, and the performance that your team put out there?
The big thing I remember from the evening was the heat. The heat was just unbelievable. It was like, must have been 37 degrees, 38 degrees on the pitch. And the fact that we'd had training camps in Monaco, I think it really, really put us in good stead in that heat. And I think the New Zealand lads found it hard to adjust because they've come from the winter town, maybe. But now it's gone a lot cooler now over here in France. So hoping we don't have those similar sort of temperatures, because it was absolutely boiling hot, honestly. Probably the hottest I've ever been in the stand in my whole life.
Wow. In September as well. It's good that the temperature's coming down. I'm sure the players are loving that. And in terms of on the pitch at the moment, in terms of training, are you tweaking and just keeping everything ticking over? Is there still a lot of work to do? What are your training levels like at the moment?
Since the last game, it's definitely we've sort of give the players a lot more rest and recovery. But yeah, it's definitely tapering down the intensity of the training, because hopefully it can be 4 consecutive weekends on the bounce. That's our aim to do that.
Can I ask you about Antoine Dupont? It's not just France fans, but it's the world really that's held its breath. I know you're a no excuse culture kind of guy, but even for you, when he came off with his cheek, how concerned were you?
The very, very positive thing about it is that it's not a jaw injury, because if he broke his jaw, fractured his jaw, he'd probably be out for the rest of the tournament. But he's fractured his cheekbone, which I actually did as a rugby player myself, and I know that probably 3 or 4 weeks later I could have probably played, and so I'll be very surprised if we do continue to get through, the quarterfinal, which is no gimme. Obviously, with the group that we're in, etc. I'm pretty sure we'll see him later in the competition.
The rugby world will be desperate to see him back as one. Give us a bit of insight, if you could, into the French camp. Who are the guys that give the energy, that clown around, that bring the noise and the music and that kind of thing? Is it quite a settled squad, or are there 1 or 2 rogues in there who deliver a bit extra?
No, I wouldn't call them rogues. I'm more entertainers, really. Sekou Makalou, he's a resident DJ, kicking up all his cool tunes. House music going, the different styles of music. He's a real music expert, so we just leave it to him, to be honest.
You've had your moments on the decks as well in those French changing rooms. I've seen post Grand Slam games, a lot of songs being led by you. Are you still at the forefront with the microphone?
No. I'm still young at heart, me, mate. I always remember the great Wayne Bennett said, the best thing about coaching, it keeps you young. I said, why's that, Wayne? He said, well, you're around young blokes all the time, aren't you? He said, it's great, it keeps you young up here. And I trust me, I'm pretty good at that.
Good. Long may it continue. How are Fabienne and how is Rafa Ibanez? I mean, there's obviously, you're where you want to be, but there's a lot of pressure on all 3 of you, essentially. But how are they handling the show at the moment?
Oh yeah, obviously very, very well. We're winning. I think our form's pretty good. As I said, we had one, below level performance, but that was with predominantly the lads who don't normally play in the test matches. So yeah, things are going good. It's been very well organised. Good. The thing about the French is, at the moment is that Fabien really understands that, particularly if you've got young children, particularly for the staff, etc. It's good to be able to have your children with you either at some time of the competition, and we did that in August. For 3 weeks in August, we was in a like a holiday sort of caravan sort of camping place, which is very, very popular in France. But you had chalets. It wasn't caravans. And our families were allowed to come with us for 3 weeks, and we train all day, still have their meetings, etc. But your family was there at the end of the day, and that made a bit different.
Brilliant, good for the soul. I know you've had one or two quite interesting spectators as well. There've been lots around all of the games. Actually, I saw Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry at the Ireland-South Africa game, and then Beckham was at one of them. But you've had a number of the French footballers in the changing room post the All Blacks game, and Fabien Barthez was in training with you as well. Have you had quite a lot of visitors? A lot of people buying into it?
I actually sat next to him on the coach, and I said, mate, a lot of respect for you, beaucoup de respect, I say, said in French. For goalkeepers, I said, you boys are tough. You get the elbows in the head, and he was telling me he broke his cheekbone twice, and obviously saying how physical a position it is in football. A lot of respect to it, and yeah, I was in the changing rooms, actually just going to the showers, and he came out was Mbappé, so I gave him a quick fist, respect. He said respect back, and that was it.
What a photo that would have been. That's one for the Instagram, I'm sure. Have you felt an enormous amount of love and support though from all around France wherever you've gone? Has it been something special?
In a simple word, yeah. And it's gathering momentum as we're going along. Obviously, winning that first game against the Great All Blacks was a big step for us. Everywhere we go, there's loads of people waiting for us. I mean, there'll be at least like 50, 60 people just outside the hotel right now, just wishing us well, and just great support. And obviously, it really does inspire you.
Have you watched much of the rest of the tournament, or are you trying quite hard to keep away from the rugby when you're not sort of switching on, etc.? Have you watched Ireland, South Africa, and England, Argentina, that sort of thing? Wales, Australia?
Yeah, I watched Ireland, South Africa. With the coach's head on as well, because we're potentially going to play them down the line. Wales, Australia, I watched the first 50 minutes, and then when Wales scored again, I knew they was going to win. And because it was obviously a very, very late kickoff over here, mate. You know what I mean? The game's only finished at 11 o'clock tonight at night.
Yeah.
So I went to bed after that because I knew Wales were going to win, and I texted my mate the next day. He was my analyst there, Mark Kinyard. Well done, mate. And they were buzzing about the performance, and obviously fantastic performance from Wales. And I think a lot of the Northern Hemisphere teams are doing pretty good. But we do have to continue with the good form, because let's be honest, normally somebody from the Southern Hemisphere wins a World Cup. And it's up to us to pull our socks up and to make sure that doesn't happen this time.
Watching that Ireland-South Africa game, did you spot anything? Is there anything that's creeping out in the games you're watching, or is it exactly what you knew and you're gonna have to front up to whoever stands in your way?
Well, the contest at the Ruck was ferocious, wasn't it? Absolutely. I mean, I always felt sorry for the players carrying the ball. Immediately they hit the deck, just about to present the ball, and boom, somebody's in there. It was like, wow. It was just rugby of its highest order. The standard was just off the rip. I'm looking at the scrums, the battle in the scrums, the first half, and you've got the best tight head probably in the Southern Hemisphere for South Africa. Then you've got the best probably tight head in the Northern Hemisphere going at it. On the opposite side of the scrum, obviously, but it was just like, wow. Just the intensity of the exchanges. You know, there was not a lot of ball in play, which Ireland normally very, very good at, high ball in play. But the intensity of the action was just ferocious. And I mean, whoever plays against one of those two teams are in for a very, very difficult day.
That quarterfinal weekend is going to be quite something. Before then, obviously, you've got Italy. Does it feel now? I know there's obviously been a lot of rugby played, and you're exactly where you want to, but you sort of touched on it already. Is this the point at which you really begin to press the accelerator down?
Well, we hope so. Yeah, we always knew this was the vital game. You know, this is the game we have to win.
Yeah.
The team who stretched us to the capacity in the Six Nations. Very, very close game against them. But hopefully we can improve on that performance.
Have you got a squad that are really beginning to bubble and buzz?
Well, yes, obviously. I mean, we've probably had more than our fair share of injuries with losing our two starting halfbacks at the moment and our starting hooker. But you know, the strength of French rugby is very, very much talked about all the time. The depth that we do have in certain positions. But in the end, your best players are still your best players, and but I mean, you can't doubt the way that Mathieu Jalibert has stepped into the starting position. Has been absolutely fantastic. I think so controlled in the way he's played, but we all know the biggest challenges are ahead of us, and I keep thinking to myself, you've got a month to go for this competition, and it's in a month you could change the rest of your life because you could become a world champion.
So good to see the energy pouring out of you. It really is intoxicating to watch. And obviously, Shaun, I think from everyone outside of a sort of an England camp, I think we'd love to see France do what we know they can. Good luck against Italy. Thank you so much for dialing in, and we will watch with great interest. Good on you.
Thank you, sir.
There he goes, the great man. What I love, Tins, is the fact that in a world of PR answers, and we'll take each game as it comes, he is not afraid to say the next 4 weeks could well be life-changing. He loves the pressure, and you've got to go with him on it.
Yeah, of course, he should do. I mean, France have answered every question that has been thrown at them. They've had disappointments, setbacks along the way, or perceived setbacks with players missing the first game, which they went on to win, and obviously what's gone on with Dupont and everything else. But they just rise to those occasions. They deal with them, and I think you'll see an emphatic victory against Italy, and they'll rumble on.
Okay, talking of pressure getting to people, it's time for Mystic Mike's predictions in partnership with our friends from City Index, global provider of spread betting and CFD trading. Tins, we have got 3 for you. England, Samoa, Ireland, Scotland, Japan against Argentina. Let's take England, Samoa first of all.
If England can build on the attack game that they showed against Chile, then I still think they win this. I think they've got confidence. They're speaking to Ellis this week. They feel good in the camp. I would expect them to go on and win this and win it well, but that's hopefully playing some rugby. I think if they get stuck into just kicking it, and if they want to try Ford, Farrell and Tuolangi, look, it has worked in the past. Everyone says it doesn't work, but it has worked in the past. We've seen it, but it all depends on how you're trying to play rugby. That was back in when Eddie was saying we're going to play at a speed that no one can live with, and we actually played good rugby. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. It obviously shows probably where they're going to go for the quarterfinals, because I would imagine they'll be as close to the quarterfinal team as you can get. But I think they should. I think they should win, and they should win well. What is winning well? I think they should win by 17.
England by 17 over Samoa, and therefore topping the pool. Ireland, Scotland. We haven't got enough time between now and kickoff to go through all of the permutations, of which it's a little bit like entering the Matrix.
There's one way of South Africa going home. There's 4 ways of Ireland going home, and everything else
is Scotland
points to Scotland. Yeah, which is a lot. There's like 12 or 13, isn't it?
So, which of the 20 options would you like to put your money on?
Look, you can't not. As much as I have said I would pay to watch Scottish rugby and how much I love the way they play the game, over the last few years, Ireland have had their number. Now, I think Scotland can cause them problems, but I don't think they're going to. And I think Ireland will win this by 12.
I would have said exactly the same thing. I tell you, the third one is a fascinating game because it's all up for grabs between Japan and Argentina. Not quite some people on the pitch, but I think this is a really interesting game to call because Argentina haven't been at their best. Neither really have Japan, but it's sort of a bit of a two teams with a puncher's chance type thing.
Yeah.
Who gets your backing and why?
I don't think they've played each other for a long time, since 2016 or something, and so obviously a lot's changed in that point. Look, I don't know what's just not vibing with this Argentinian team because the players are good at the moment, but this could be where I get it very wrong. For some reason, I've got a sneaky feeling Japan are going to do it.
Go on then. Put your money by how many?
It's going to be close.
People in Wales are going, yeah, of course it is. Of course it is, Tids. Really close. Yeah,
exactly. Japan by 5.
Right, Japan by 5. Locked in.
This is the one where I have no clue.
What we are about to identify is that you are throwing good money after bad because do you quickly want to take us through the shout-outs for the performer?
Yeah, I will do. All I would like to say is it's been a big, bad week for Heathy, who is now... What's happened to you, pal? You've gone down 20 places.
Yeah.
You've been listening to me, haven't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a fast track to the bottom, that is. But I do want to give a shout out to the performer of the week, which is Dan Lennox, who is top of the leaderboard once again. Great effort. You are consistently on it. Well done, you. Hask is languishing in 1,566th place, or 1,566th place, out of 2,000 players, although I'm only scraping a few rungs of the ladder above him, at 60 places above him. But Alex, well done. You're doing very well at the moment. 717.
And about to make my move.
I feel my picks from the heart earlier on in the tournament have cost me big.
Good stuff, Tins. Thank you very much. Head over to superbrew.com/GBR if you'd like to get involved in the final round of the knockouts. And thanks as always to City Index, global provider of spread betting and CFD trading. I tell you what we will quickly do. The biggest chance of an upset this weekend comes in which game?
Well, would that fall under the Japan Argentina?
Italy, France, Japan, Argentina. What about Portugal, Fiji?
Do you know what? Portugal, Fiji, because Portugal have they've put some performances together, and my only worry for Fiji is that against Georgia, they looked a little bit like they were running out of steam. You know, they've got to play their best players every week, and it's not easy to do that and to continuously just go to the well. So I don't think they will, but that would be an interesting to watch. But I think Japan taking Argentina would be an upset. So I've got to stick with my prediction, haven't I? So Japan.
You do. Japan. I can already feel Pumas fans racking up their messages, ready to fire into your DM channel.
I don't think it's quite the same as the Australia one.
You say that.
Well, I heard stories that against England, Argentinian fan left at half time because they read the body language and they didn't think they were there. That is what I got told the other day of someone who sat next to an Argentinian fan who left at half time. He said, I can tell by my body language that the boys aren't there yet. So, yeah, they've got a lot. Argentina have got a lot of. They've stumbled through everything at the moment. If they play like they've played, Japan generally don't make many errors. They're all over you. They'll play at an intensity that if you're not there, they can, and they've got people who can score.
Okay. Enjoy the weekend. Rugby. Nice to have you with us. Thank you to Shaun Edwards for dialing in as well. Thank you to Continental Tires for their continued support of all things GBNR. We'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
What's the opposite of humble? Haskell. Get Haskell.
This is my moment.